Hello, I'm your host, Jean-Paul Baran, President of Focus on the Family Canada. Welcome to The Thriving Family, a Focus on the Family Canada podcast. As you tune in, you'll discover sound bites on marriage, parenting, and faith and culture from a Christian perspective. The Thriving Family podcast is made possible by generous donors who support our ministry. Today's bonus episode features a very special guest, Leigh, the iconic voice behind Adventures in Odyssey's character, Connie Kendall. Katie has voiced a wide range of roles, and for over 20 years she's played the role of everybody's favorite teenager, Connie. This part is one that strangely mirrors her own life. Katie attended the One Grand Party, a 2-day interactive event with 2 live performances last August at Focus on the Family's headquarters in Colorado Springs, when 6,000 fans celebrated episode 1,000 of Adventures in Odyssey. Katie sat down with Kara Pippy, Focus on the Family Canada's Chief Marketing Officer, and they had a fascinating conversation about Katie's work as a voice actor, what it's like to be a believer in the entertainment industry, and what she has learned from her years as the voice of such a beloved resident of Whit's End. All right, over to Kara and Katie.
All right. Well, welcome, Katie. Katie Leigh is with us here today. It's such an honor to have you with us. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us on The Thriving Family. How are you doing today? Before we dive in, how's your day going?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. What an honor. You're doing something new.
This is very new, very exciting. As I was sharing before we started recording here, this is my first interview for our podcast. So I feel like we're setting the bar high here, and no pressure at all, right, on my end. But again, just so great to have you with us. And,
well, I won't be a very good guest, and then you won't have to worry about everybody will be better than me as you move forward. How's that? I'll help you out.
All right. That sounds great. Thank you, Katie. I appreciate that. So I just want to sort of dive in here and just acknowledge the fact that you've had such a rich and vibrant career in voice acting. But let's start with what most of our listeners will know you for, and that's the voice of Connie Kendall in Adventures in Odyssey. So what has it meant for you to voice Connie for over 38 years now?
What has it meant? It has meant that I have been very, very fortunate and blessed in my life to be a part of something that has lasted so long and impacted so many people all around the world. I mean, it's pretty amazing and mind-blowing and awesome, and sometimes I have to pinch myself, and then after that hurts, I stop.
Okay.
Just kidding.
That's so fun. That's so fun. I'm curious, how has the show and the character evolved over 38 years? So just a side note, for me personally, I didn't come to faith until later in my 30s. So I feel like I've missed out on this important childhood sort of era of Adventures in Odyssey. But I'm so encouraged every time I speak with somebody out at an event or some kind of function that we're producing. And as soon as people hear about Adventures in Odyssey, their eyes light up, and it's like everyone's got a story to share, or somehow that Adventures in Odyssey has impacted their life. And so I just want to say thank you for the work that you've been doing. But over the past 38 years, how has the character of Connie evolved, and how has the show evolved from your perspective?
Well, first of all, Kara, I want to encourage you that you are not too old to listen to Adventures in Odyssey. Our audience ranges from 2 to 92. So a lot of people still enjoy listening. You have a lot of episodes maybe to catch up on, right. But it doesn't mean that train has left the station. You can definitely still enjoy it, especially if you're driving. Well, I guess you can't drive from Vancouver to Toronto, can you? You
could. I definitely.
Well, that would be a lot of Odysseys. That would help you catch up. If you listened from the beginning to now, you would see that, 38 years ago, things were different. So the things that we referenced, the things we talked about, I tell people the technology has changed. in the world. So when we started the show, Connie certainly didn't have a cell phone because nobody had a cell phone, you know.
Right. Yes.
We had, computers, but a lot of things have changed. So there's, the scripts have sort of grown with the times to be, a little modern as other things come up and topics change. Connie, she's changed just because she's matured and grown in her faith and in Christ. And, she wasn't a believer. A spoiler alert, she wasn't a believer when she got to town. At this point, probably most people know. She is now, and, she's just trying to live a life that's pleasing the Lord and being herself and trying to be helpful to other people. So, her challenges have grown as she's gotten older and had more life experiences.
Okay.
People come and go in Odyssey.
Right.
The scenery changes. So that kind of stuff changes. But the essence of the show, I think, is stayed pretty much the same, which is why people still like listening to it.
Yeah. No, that's a very a great point. So the first Adventures in Odyssey show aired in 1987, and it's been running ever since. So for nearly 4 decades. So what is it that you think has kept it relevant and impactful for families over all these years?
Well, people are about the same all over the world and all through history. So family situations are the same. I mean, dynamics, relationships. God hasn't changed, so that's a consistent, right? It stays the same. The Bible stays the same.
Right.
So, what was the question?
I was just saying, because for nearly 4 decades, it's had this staying power, right? Adventures in Odyssey.
Because it's relatable. People can relate,
Right.
We've the writers do an amazing job of writing stories that are compelling and relatable.
Right. And given that there's such a deep spiritual impact, or Adventures in Odyssey has had a deep spiritual impact on generations. And again, I gleaned some of this just from those conversations that I'm having out and about, talking with people. And so why do you think that's one of the factors that has kept it relevant, that there's faith-based storytelling and that there's some God stories, it's relatable, like you said, they're real life scenarios. Do you think that's one of the things that has made it so impactful?
I think that for people, the thing that's so nice, I think, about Adventures in Odyssey, for the most part, like I said, they're relatable stories. And they're people a lot of times really wrestling with or exploring their faith. And a lot of people find themselves in those situations. And they're able to, I think, know they're not alone in thinking about things or reframing situations. And so Odyssey kind of helps people, work on those things. And if you turn on, no offense, but if you turn on Christian radio, we're kind of unique in the way we deal with issues. And the other thing that's really great is, a lot of the characters are consistent. So you come back and they feel like family, or you've seen them go through stuff. It's just like when you're watching a TV series and you're in season 8 and you know these characters now, so that it makes them familiar. I think that has a lot to do with it. And the faith part, I mean, I talked to a guy Tuesday night, well, a few nights ago. And he was a pastor's kid. And he used to listen to Odyssey. Of course, the family had him listen to Odyssey. But he was a bad pastor's kid. And he got in a lot of trouble. And at some point, I don't know what happened. Maybe in his 20s or 30s, he found his old Odyssey stuff. He decided, and he realized, all of a sudden, a lot of things came back to him that he hadn't really thought about in a long time, or didn't mean anything to him until he got older, and then it had significance. So some people like almost like a stone skipping a pond. They'll touch on things in Odyssey, and maybe it's, they kind of get it, they kind of don't get it, and then you get to another part in your life, and you're like, oh, you hear it differently. So it's something that people can come back to and not feel like, oh, I've outgrown that, because I think it has different layers and different meanings. Even for me, when I'm recording a script, it can be, I'm playing Connie and I'm going through the script, and then when I hear it produced, or I read the script like, oh, I kind of relate to this, and then I hear it later and something's happened in my life that makes it even more personal or more relatable or significant. Maybe that's the answer. Like, I don't know all the answers, but there's a few ideas.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. I'm curious to know, how has God been working in your life throughout this process in playing Connie? And, when you're, like you say, when you're reading those scripts, sometimes it impacts you personally. Can you share a little bit more about how God has been working in your life, and perhaps even a bit of your own faith journey? Yeah.
Well, there have been times when I get scripts that touch on things that are actually, like, one of the first times I think was Connie was like phoning it in as a Sunday school teacher. And the kids were complaining that she wasn't really invested. And I was teaching Sunday school at the time, and I wasn't really invested. And so it really spoke to me, like, come on, do this better, put in more of an effort. So that was one of those parallels of my own life.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how God will speak to us through experiences and other people, or in this case, through a script that can really, just speak to us personally. So,
yeah, and to be able to, even though recording Adventures in Odyssey isn't my full-time job, I have worked for the organization for so long, and all these people have become like family, and it's great to have a support system of people you work with who are fellow believers, who you can pray with and share things with and have been through life with you. So that has been really helpful in my life. I mean, even if you go to church, if you don't develop relationships with people, there's nobody there to, be there when you need somebody or to understand or whatever. And, having my focus on the family, even my Adventures in Odyssey family, the listeners, I feel, are like family. And it keeps me on the straight and narrow. I mean, in a practical sense, there are a lot of jobs that I choose not to do just because I feel like as a sort of being Connie informs other work that I could do, and that I choose sometimes not to do because I don't think it's a good thing.
Right. Yeah, you definitely, I can relate. I mean, working at Focus on the Family Canada, we are essentially, we're representatives of this amazing ministry and this organization. And so we want to make sure that choices we're making in our personal lives or in other professional endeavors align with, these commitments that we've made. So, and even just being a Christian, right? And making sure that we're upholding our witness, if you will. And
absolutely, iron sharpens iron, so it's a good thing. It's birds of a feather, and you want to hang out with the right flock, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's so great. So I am curious to know, like you mentioned, the folks that you work with on the cast and crew have become like family, and I was curious to know if you could just expand on that a little bit. Tell us a little bit about those relationships, and what's it like in the studio when you all come together to do a recording? I can imagine you have a lot of fun together. Maybe you can just share a little bit about what the atmosphere is like and just how you've supported each other over the years.
Yeah, it's like a family reunion. I mean, when we started the show, we recorded every week, and now we only record 4 times a year. So we're always very happy to see each other in person. And, it's really, we are really happy to see each other and catch up, and we love working together. So, yeah, that's very exciting. If we're working, we'll text each other, are you going to be in the show? Are you doing this episode? What day are you coming to work? I'll try to, I'm in the afternoon, you're in the morning. Well, I'll hang out so I can see you, kind of thing.
Nice.
We've gone through a lot of personal things together as people. It's interesting because when I started the show, I was the same age as Phil Lawler, Paul McCusker. A lot of us were kind of the same age, so we had our kids around the same time. We're all starting to be grandparents now. So that is sharing those kind of milestones in our lives together, and we do share personal things, and it's the kind of environment where you feel like you can share if you're going through something with the people you're working with, and they'll be understanding. And even people who come on the show who maybe it's their first time as an actor. I've never heard anybody say anything bad. They always love coming to work with us because they can feel the love, I guess, the support. The atmosphere is always very positive. And I think it's, a people first kind of environment, which is nice.
That's fantastic.
And Chris, who, our announcer, our host, who I rarely work with because she records her stuff separately, the raps, but we've become best friends. Like, I talk to her almost every day. So
That's fantastic.
it's really great.
That's really great. That's so encouraging. Thank you for sharing that. Just curious, over the years now, I'm sure there must have been a few episodes that have really stuck out to you for one reason or another. Maybe there was a favorite episode that you voiced, or maybe there was a special story or an experience. Can you share maybe one or two of those experiences with us and what made those episodes special to you?
The very first one, probably the first one was Connie 1 and 2, or Connie accepts the Lord, and prays. That was really special and felt very personal. And then I remember when we recorded Back to Bethlehem, and we go in the imagination station. If you've never heard it, you should hear it.
Okay.
And it was really a marvelous, well-written show. And Connie gets to be there at the birth of Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And hold the baby. And it was so palpable. It was just, so I feel like it's a gift to be able to act in these shows. And that's one way it kind of strengthens my faith, I guess, just to, play act things that are real, in the Bible, that, you really put yourself in those situations. And then, really crazy funny scripts, like I Slap Floor, that I didn't used to read the script ahead of time, which is a very funny episode, and I didn't know what was going on, and it's supposed to be confusing. So that was fun to do. And everybody's favorite is License to Drive, that where Connie teaches Eugene how to drive, which is one of our all-time favorites for fans and the people who made this show, because it was just a fun thing to do.
A lot of fun. That's fantastic. So back last August, you were part of the One Grand Party in Colorado Springs, the 2-day event that commemorated the 1000th episode. I was there, by the way. I was there, and I'll share my thoughts in a moment. But I just want to, for our listeners, let them know this was a 2-day sold out show. There were over 6,000 fans from all across the US, Canada, and other parts of the world. I met a family there from Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was so, again, just encouraging to see so many people from all different sort of walks of life and different backgrounds come together to celebrate this. And it just reaffirmed to me, like, what a powerful ministry this actually is. And the energy and the buzz and everything there was so cool. And then to be there for the live recording on the second day was an amazing experience as well. So can you tell us a little bit, what was that experience like for you? And were there any special moments that were like particularly moving for you over those 2 days?
Well, like you said, it was like one huge family reunion love fest. And, not only do people come from all over the world, but it's so generational. Grandparents with their kids and their grandkids who listen to the show.
Right.
I think that, the most wonderful thing at this stage of my journey is meeting the fans and hearing their stories and seeing their faces light up and to realize how much it means to them. I don't live in their houses. I don't know, we record, then it takes a while to get produced, and then I don't know how they hear it. And some people are hearing episodes like you will hear something for the first time that we recorded 20 years ago, So,
Yeah.
but it's just so amazing to feel like people feel like they know you, and because they know the character so well. And I think that's because we work in audio, and I think sound is very personal. And listening to things and everything that people create in their imagination is their own personal Odyssey.
Yeah.
No pun intended, but it's their personal, this is how they relate to the characters, how they see them in their minds, whatever they envision is their own personal thing. And, sound is very personal. When you hear someone's voice that you recognize them right away. And it goes down deep inside of you. I can't explain it. I'm sure there's some psychological and technical thing, but when you're on the radio or podcast and people listen, they're more engaged.
Right.
They're more engaged, so they internalize more of what they're hearing, and it becomes part of them. And so we are part of their families. And when we meet people, and you just feel like, yeah. And I always feel so happy when I meet, especially boys who have been listening to Odyssey, and they have their own little connection to Connie, and I think, oh no, they're going to meet me, and I'm like, not 20 anymore, and they still want to give me a hug. They're like, they just don't care. They love the character so much, and I feel so grateful for that.
That's incredible. I love it. Yeah, those personal connections. It's so great. Would love to hear a little more about you, Katie Leigh. Your creative journey, your career, if you will. Take us back to when you were a child. Like, were you a creative child? Were you an expressive child? What sort of influence did your family have on you in those early days when you were discovering who you were as a person, and ultimately what led you onto this journey of being a voice actor?
Well, that's an involved question.
Yeah.
I think I'm still figuring out who I am. Well,
aren't we all, right? It's like it's a journey that we're all on, right? We're always evolving and changing. But I think there are clues, when we look back to our childhood, there are often clues there that sort of speak into who we become, and so I don't know if you have anything that comes to mind when you were thinking back.
Well,
to
like
your childhood.
most people my age, we grew up watching television, hearing, certain, programs and cartoons that everybody watched. It's not like now, we have this shared culture, and and I loved character voice. I like humor. I'm attracted to anything. Carol Burnett, variety shows, Dick Van Dyke, funny comedians, things that are funny. Yeah. I like that. I'm a big audio fan. I listen to the radio a lot in my life. And so, I had that. My family was kind of funny. My mother was very funny. I still can't help. A situation, somebody will say something and I'll know exactly some smart, goofy thing my mother would say. Okay. She just had funny things to say about it. As a matter of fact, when my mother was in her 60s, she became a clown. So, it's not a normal family, probably. My father, they could do, accents and joke around. Everything was pretty humorous. So... Okay. I think I had that going for me. Yeah. And
it sounds like it was in your DNA, this sort of comedy and humor and yeah.
Yeah. A lot of, and I did a lot of extracurricular activities when I was a kid. Okay. But the one thing that I've sort of pieced together is I always did like to create. I love to make something out of nothing. So... if people were throwing away if I saw something that I thought maybe I could build. I loved the idea of like those contraptions they used to have on, where somebody would make this sort of mousetrap type thing where they put these things together and the marble would roll down. It would do this and knock that over. And I always thought that was super cool. So I thought I could do rig up something in my bedroom. So my mind was very creative. I don't know that it was very successful physically, but I like to crochet and when I got into high school, or out of high school, really, is when people started saying I sounded younger than I was. And that's when I started to explore doing voiceover to make extra money or, figure out what I thought I wanted to be a teacher, actually, when I grew up. Yeah. But I love, and so voiceover really is like making something out of nothing because all there is this me and my voice and my imagination, right?
It's fantastic. I love it. The creativity that comes with that. What do you find most fun or most challenging about creating character voices?
What I find most fun is the people I work with. That's the most fun is creating stuff with people. Okay. Because I think, it's like if a tree falls in a forest, right? Does anybody hear it? When you get a reaction or you're working with other people, it's a lot more fun than, just coming up with something on your own. The challenge is doing something different and doing something that's surprising, that makes your performance that much better. And challenge is finding jobs, if people are really interested in voiceover as a career, our job per se is auditioning. When you get the job, and that's the fun part. So honestly, the most challenging is finding the work.
Right. Okay. And are you finding it more difficult these days? Like there just seems to be so much uncertainty in the world these days. Are you finding it more challenging nowadays than it was, say, 10 years ago to find certain jobs, or is it about the same?
Yeah, no, it is absolutely more challenging. I grew up in Los Angeles, and a lot of animation was done there. Most of it was done there. Focus on the Family started in Southern California. Adventures in Odyssey started there, and where there were very few. A lot less actors than there are now. And now with technology, they can find actors all over the place. And frankly, producers want to find new voices. So they aren't necessarily going to use the same people over and over again like they used to when I was, working on shows. Like, I think I was working on The Gummy Bear. No, I was working on Dumbo's Circus and some other cartoons. And then the people who did the Gummy Bears knew my work from that. So they would bring me in and got my part as Sunny Gummy. Like I said, I did Dumbo's Circus on the Disney Channel. That's our show for today, boys and girls. Now I'm a little older and I've met a lot of people, so I'm fortunate that people will offer me things or I know personally. So, and I trust God. I just have to trust God that things are going to come
Yeah.
and not freak out. I audition a lot. I rarely book things I audition, but the work still comes. So I feel like you just have to keep it in motion, keep that energy out there that you're wanting to work. I've gotten to work on, actually, one of the intern writers from Focus on the Family, she was an intern, their very first intern. She wrote a script for Adventures in Odyssey, but she grew up and went on to work over at Answers in Genesis, and she wrote a cartoons show, and I'm playing the lead of that show because I know her, and I mean, I auditioned, but she was kind of pulling for me.
Oh, that's
So,
great.
I mean, that's really nice. So the lesson is be nice to everybody, even if they're 20 years younger than you, because someday they might give you a job.
Right, there you go. It's like the power of networking, right, and building relationships and helping each other, people in the community just helping each other out, and ultimately trusting God and knowing that He's our great provider. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're going to have your ups and downs, especially in any kind of creative endeavor. And it's good to have a backup plan and don't think you're doing anything wrong. I mean, it's the nature of the business, and
Right.
just cherish and be thankful for every opportunity you have to work.
Yeah.
And especially for me, I love anything I get to do that's faith-based.
Right.
That's,
Okay.
it's so impactful, and you don't even realize how impactful it is. And that's one of the things, to go back to one of your previous questions. When we started the show, we didn't know. Kids were 8, whatever. Now I meet them, they're 38 years old, and they can tell me what the show has meant to them and how they're playing it for their kids. But you don't know when you're doing it. Sometimes it's just a job. But if you
Yeah.
really ask God to use what you're doing,
Yeah.
you might be surprised.
Right. Yeah. It's so incredible that you're right. We can't see the impact in the moments when we're creating and creating the work and doing the work, but we know that God will use it to bless like tens of thousands of people. And that's one thing that I always try to encourage our team here at Focus as well, because sometimes it just feels like, another day at the office kind of thing. But knowing that the work that we're doing, God is going to bless people through that is just an incredible realization that we need to keep that front of mind, so we don't lose sight of
I
that.
agree with everything that you're saying. And the show is about, you're calling your podcast what?
The Thriving Family.
Exactly. So I just want to encourage parents that even my own children will share with me things that they appreciate now that they're older, that I don't think they appreciated when they were younger or were even aware of. So I just want to encourage parents, do the best you can. Everybody has to go through their growing up stuff.
Yeah.
And in this same way, you are influencing your kids.
Right.
And take heart. It might feel like a big power struggle at the moment, but you know what? Ultimately, God's in control. And if you're, living an honorable life and doing things as best you can, your kids will recognize it later on. And hopefully you're planting those seeds.
Right.
And they're going to grow up into their own beautiful flowers when they get older. Sometimes they won't seem that way on their way there, but,
Right. Yes.
take heart, be encouraged.
Amen. Amen. So you've had such an amazing journey, Katie, and if speaking of families and parents, if you could say one thing to the Canadian families and parents in particular who are listening, or not even necessarily parents, I guess Canadians in general, who've been impacted by your work in Adventures in Odyssey, what's one thing that you could say to encourage them today?
Well, I don't know if I speak Canadian.
Okay. You say Canadian, eh? You just
Canadian,
put an A at the
yes.
end,
How do
yeah.
you spell Canada? Canada. Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Actually, yeah, my parents were from Canada, believe it or not. My parents were
Oh.
both born in Toronto.
Oh, that's incredible. That's
Yes.
fantastic. In
Yes,
Toronto,
and
I lived in Toronto for 26 years. It's a great city.
well, I know a Toronto song that my mother taught. As I told you, everything in my life comes back to something my mother would like
Yeah.
say all the time, and nobody knows this song. So I will sing you the Toronto song that
Awesome,
maybe
yes.
some of your listeners could appreciate. And it goes like this. We come from Toronto, Toronto, where girls are the fairest and boys are the squarest in any old town that we know. We come from Toronto, down where the Don River flows. In all sorts of weather, we all stick together in Toronto, Toronto.
Amazing. Bravo.
So my point is, everything you do, your kids are listening and they're learning and it's sticking in their heads and they're never going to get rid of it no matter what. So, they're listening. They are paying attention to you and you are their role models and don't think you aren't.
Oh, that's so good. That's so rich. Thank you. I love that song too. That I have never heard that before. That is a
Nobody's
first.
ever heard. I kind of wonder if my mom and my aunt made it up. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Well, to all of our Toronto listeners out there, I hope you enjoy that.
As you can see,
Fantastic.
I'm not a great singer, but I do enjoy singing badly.
You did lovely. You did lovely. Oh my goodness. So, will you be in Canada anytime in the near future? For
If you
any
invite
special
me,
events or
I wish. I wish. I go to Comic-Cons a lot.
Okay.
And I've yet to be invited into the Canadian area, but I would love to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was too old when my mom took my brothers to Toronto. I didn't get to go on that trip.
Okay.
But yeah,
Well,
invite me up there and I'll come.
So, Katie, what's next for you? Like, what kind of exciting projects do you have going on now? Do you have any special, side projects you're working on, or things that you can let us know about that we should be watching out for?
Well, I still do a show. I started with Will Ryan called Tell You Later, the Tell You Later show. It's on Patreon, but also you can see it on YouTube. So if you want to see what we look like in person, I have a lot of Odyssey people on the show sometimes and other people that I think are interesting. And it's a show where, let's see, what's the tag? Voiceover pop culture and beyond, where you learn so much about so little and vice versa.
Okay.
We do that. We're still doing that. My dear husband produces that and puts that out there, and that's a lot of fun because I know so many interesting people, and I just love spotlighting them and their stories. And also, I have if they go to my website, katieleigh.com, you can find out probably where I've been or where I'm going if you get the newsletter.
Okay.
I teach, coach voiceover. Also, we're having an audio drama online Zoom class that on the 21st of June, which is almost sold out. I wrote a book. My own book. It's like a comic book.
Yeah.
I mean, it has drawings, so it's like one line per page. It's very simple. It's sort of a bathroom book, but it's called The Itty Bitty Book of Codependency.
Okay.
And it has some nice little cartoons in there. We're doing some shows with Butch Hartman. He created the Garden cartoon. I don't know if you're familiar with it. And now that's on Angel Studios is airing it.
Okay.
So he's doing a lot of faith-based cartoons, and so we're hoping that a bunch of those get made. And so we'll be doing more episodes of that, which is really fun because it's more. And I'm Lily's voice at Lily's Lab on Answers TV. We finished season 2 this year. And if anybody's traveling down to the US of A and go to Branson or Pigeon Forge, there's a new 4D virtual experience called Truth Traveler, which is like a virtual reality trip through the Bible. And I'm the robot's voice. His name is Pod. So that's kind of fun. Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Wow, you've got a lot of interesting projects happening.
I do
right
a
now.
lot of stuff, Kara. And probably when I get done talking to you, I'll remember 5 more. But at this point, that's good. Just go to my website or sign up for my newsletter, and I'll let you know what I'm doing.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. I will certainly do that. And I'm sure our listeners will as well. I just want to thank you so much for joining us today, Katie Leigh. Such an honor. Your story is a beautiful reminder of how God uses our creativity and our voice, both literally and figuratively, to bring hope to others. And it was such a joy talking with you and hearing about your story and all the fun things that you're working on. And of course, learning more about Adventures in Odyssey. I pray that God will continue to bless you richly. Is there anything else final words that you'd like to say? Maybe if there was a sign off from Connie herself, what would she like to say as some parting words here?
Oh, well, okay. Well, hi, everybody. This is Connie Kendall, that is. And I think you should just continue to listen to this podcast because it's going to really bless your life, and it's only going to get better from here.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Katie and Connie. Such a joy to talk to you again. God bless you. And I pray that we'll be able to connect again sometime in the future. Take care.
I hope so. Thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you.
How fun was that? I want to extend a big thank you to Katie for joining today's special bonus episode of the Thriving Family podcast. I hope you were encouraged by her conversation with Kara. If you want to explore Adventures in Odyssey, visit shop.focusonthefamily.ca/AIO. There's no shortage of entertainment you can trust. Thanks for listening to today's episode of The Thriving Family, a podcast from Focus on the Family Canada. If you like this episode, please leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to subscribe. If you feel led, you can make a donation at focusonthefamily.ca/podcastgiving. This program is available ad-free because of the generosity of our donors. Most importantly, please remember that we are here for you and your family.